explain it all, and we are going to explain about sensors today. We are just going to give a brief introduction about sensors. So first things first, what are sensors? Sensors are modules or devices that are frequently used to detect and respond to electrical or optical signals. So what does this sentence mean? So are they only going to detect if it's electrical or optical signals? I don't think so. So I want to read the second sentence as well. Sensor converts the physical parameters into a signal which can be measured electrically. So what are the physical parameters? Like there are many physical parameters like heat, humidity, temperature. Like what a sensor should measure. Those are also called as physical parameters, and it converts into a signal which can be measured electrically. So there comes the electrical signals, and sometimes it can be an optical signal. So now we know the definition, but what is the working of sensor? So sensor is a device which converts non-electrical, physical or chemical quantity into an electric signal. Okay, so what do you understand by this sentence? We are just going back into the definition again. So definition itself states as the working of the sensor, the main working. There are different sensors which work differently, but the common working is same, that they convert it into an electric signal which can be measured electrically and then function according to the program or whatever it is. And sensors measure something which is also called as measurand, like heat, humidity and the physical parameters which we just talked about are also called as measurands, and sensors are also called as transducers. In other words, we can say sensors convert measurands into electric signal which help them to function. Okay, that's what we are also talking in the definition. It's just the recap. If I'm saying honestly, it's just the recap, because working is also there in the definition. Definition itself states the working. So sensors are also used to switch currents and voltages. Every sensor has three terminals: VCC, ground and output. And though VCC, physical parameters, ground, these work to give the output. That is what is the sentence I wrote in the presentation: physical parameters to sensors for output. Okay, next, what are types of sensors? There are many types of sensors. They are color sensor, temperature sensor, ultrasonic sensor, infrared ray sensor, touch sensor, etc. And these are the sensors, how they look. Like different companies design them in a different way, but the working is same. There is no difference in the working, but they are designed in a different manner. Suppose if we see Lego Mindstorms and all, the color sensor doesn't have 4 bulbs kind of things. It is just like a glass and some other stuff. It's completely different. Designing is completely different, but the working is the same. Sensors and their usages. Color sensor used to detect colors, and I want to know tell you a fascinating example about this color sensor. Like there's a newly kept restaurant in Hyderabad where robots serve the food. It's very interesting because there is no work of waiters there. There are many such restaurants where robots serve the food. That concept started in Thailand, then came to Chennai, Mumbai, and also Delhi, I guess. Yeah, it's also there in Delhi, Hyderabad, and recently they have kept in Bangalore also. They're keeping it in Bangalore. They're still building it, and the concept is like robot serving the food. So there are many such restaurants where robots serve the food, and there are black lines and white lines where the robot should not deviate from their path and straight go to the table, serve and come back to their original position. Most of the restaurants where robots serve food works on that, and some work on camera sensor. It's just little dangerous. That's why many people use color sensor as the medium. And next comes the ultrasonic sensor. Emits ultrasonic waves to know the distances and obstacles. And there are many other uses. What are those many other uses? I'll tell you some of them, and there are many actually other uses, but this is just introduction to sensors. So I'm going to explain you about only what are the main uses: loop control, liquid level control, full detection, robotic sensing, people detection for counting. So these are few of the uses of ultrasonic sensor. And in future presentations, the explain it all will also create presentations separately for ultrasonic sensor, because there is a huge topic about ultrasonic sensor and it is very 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 interesting. So this is just an introduction to sensors, so we'll only tell you the main points, and there are going to be a few presentations of course afterwards, which will also help you to understand more about the sensors. Temperature sensor detects temperature and functions according to the program. Infrared ray sensor emits infrared rays to function accordingly. So infrared ray sensor, that is one more interesting sensor I have ever studied, because many things work on infrared ray sensor, but one common example that almost everyone knows, if you have reached the higher standards, is like the TV remote. You press some button, it emits infrared rays, sends the signal to the set-top box. Like I'm taking the example of set-top box, or even TV actually. And the set-top box is obviously connected to the TV, and there is a change of channel setting or something else. That is the use of infrared ray sensor, where it converts the infrared rays into electrical signals and sends to the TV, and TV settings will change according to what we pressed on the remote. It's actually very interesting and stuff, but I'm very eager to know more about the infrared ray sensor, and I'll surely make the presentations even for infrared ray sensor, because it is very very interesting sensor. Ultrasonic sensor and infrared ray sensors are like the most interesting sensors I have ever seen or worked with. And who invented sensors? Oh, this is a good question actually. And the first motion sensor used for an alarm system came about in the early part of 1950s. It is like long back, almost 70 years ago. We are in 2020 now, and it's almost like 70 years ago where the sensors actually started, and it was the invention of Samuel Bagno. His device made use of ultrasonic frequencies as well as the Doppler effect. Before going into what Doppler effect is, just have a look at how the first motion sensor looked like. Now it is way more different, but this is how the first motion sensor looked like. Not the first, but how motion sensor actually used to look like. Okay, so Doppler effect, I'm not going to go deep into it because it's not actually so much like related, but I want to go into it because it's interesting. Doppler effect is an increasing or decreasing effect in the frequency of sound, light, or other waves as a source of observer move toward or away from each other. And this effect causes sudden change in pitch. And there is one important point to be noted, that the Doppler effect does not change the speed of the sound. For example, many people think that the frequency changes, the speed also changes. No, that's not the case. It's never the case in the Doppler effect. The speed of the sound won't change. And take a look at Samuel Bagno, how he looked and all. And one more important point to be noted is that he invented the first motion sensor. But who invented the first electric thermostat, which we mostly use now? If we consider like that, the inventor would be Warren S. Johnson. But if we consider overall, the first motion sensor, the first sensor was invented by Samuel Bagno. So hope you enjoyed the content, and please do subscribe to Explain It All for more interesting and educative content. Thank you.